G'day everyone and welcome back to the Warthog project. For those that have never seen it before, this is my homemade A10 Warthog flight simulator. If you want to see how I built this section here, just check out the link in the description to my website at thewarthogproject.com and you can download all the files that I've created yourself. So the world view in my cockpit is done using a projection surface. This is a 270 degree curve. It's 1.2 meters tall and 2.4 meters wide, and it's done by three 1080p short throw projectors. It obviously has its limitations, being you can't look up without using snap views and you don't have the depth perception that you do in VR. So today's video we're going to be turning off these three projectors and we're going to be using a Quest 3 headset to do the outside world view. So this is my Quest 3. It's got a Bobo VR head strap on it and hot swappable batteries. It's actually a really cool bit of kit, this. I recommend it. And I've got two other batteries so you can just swap them on there and it's completely wireless. We're using a Quest 3 because it's got pretty high quality colour pass-through and it's relatively affordable. There are better ones on the market that are top of the range and you know the military uses them, but you could probably buy 10 of these for the price of one of those. I've been flying VR for a very long time. I had a Rift S, I had a Reverb G2, I had a Quest 2, now I've got the Quest 3. So I do fly DCS a lot of the time in VR, and I fly the A10 in VR, but I'm used to not being able to see my hand. So basically I would just sit in the 3D cockpit and sort of go by muscle memory and feel to touch the cockpit. And I used to not have the displays on. Now with the mixed reality pass-through, I can basically see everything and it's like this is in the virtual world. It's amazing. So this is the cockpit setup now working as it would be in the projectors. What I'll flash up on the screen now is what Windows sees my monitors as. So you can see there's one large display area being the outside world. So that's actually the three projectors and it's set up in NVIDIA Surround, so Windows sees it as one large monitor. And the one on the right there is the single 27-inch LCD that's in behind there on my main instrument panel. So that one's got my exports on it, and software called Helios is making all the gauges work. Alright, so the first thing I do to set this up for mixed reality or VR is to turn off the projectors. So I unplug this projector and this projector. I leave that one plugged in, but I don't turn it on. But Windows will still see it as a monitor. So this is what Windows is seeing when I turn on the computer ready for VR. Alright, so before you're going to start doing this, I recommend you first get in VR, forget about mixed reality and everything, just get DCS working well in VR. Even that is a challenge in itself. It drives you to alcoholism, but you'll get it to work eventually, hopefully. I actually tried to get this working a long time ago using software called Reality Mixer, and I couldn't get it to work in DCS. I also tried doing other pass-through software. I couldn't get it to work. Most of it was caused by Steam, VR problems again, and either DCS just crashing, that sort of stuff. So I'm using software now called Kneeboard. So I got this idea from another YouTuber. If you have a look in the description down below, Simpit Academy, go check out his videos. He goes into a lot more detail than I'm going to go into here, but I couldn't have got this working without watching those videos. So make sure you go check that out and follow his channel. So Kneeboard is software that's designed for you to have a kneeboard on your leg in DCS. It's not really designed to do this pass-through, but basically by cheating it a little bit and making a kneeboard the size of this whole cockpit and then making it a certain color, and then in virtual desktop setting it to chroma key, that's how we got the pass-through working. I'll explain all that in a second. Another challenge we had was getting the MFDs to export in VR. My PC specs, I think it's a 13700K and a 3080 Ti. So we're not in the land of make-believe NASA supercomputers here. It's a good PC, but it's getting pretty old now. Looks like I've just broken this off. So the first thing you have to do is, 1, remove Steam VR. In fact, remove Steam altogether. It's just a nightmare trying to get this thing to work. 2, download Virtual Desktop on this headset. So Virtual Desktop is a way that I connect this wirelessly to the gaming computer down there. Don't go into the Steam VR store, don't do anything on computer. Turn this on, go to the Oculus store in here, buy a Virtual Desktop, install it on your headset. I can't remember what it costs, but I'll flash it up on the screen now. So once that's installed on your headset, there's a plug-in that you install into the gaming PC, and then as soon as you turn on your headset and it's on the same Wi-Fi network as your computer, the two will link up and you will get a seamless view of your desktop. It's great software. It's much more reliable, I've found anyway, than the Oculus Link software, or definitely Steam VR. Steam VR is a nightmare. One of the caveats of this is you'll notice that it connects on the Wi-Fi network. As far as I'm aware, there's no way to get it working on a link cable. I've got a link cable, but I don't use it because I like being wireless. I like being able to walk around the house. I've also got the battery packs, and I have a very strong Wi-Fi 6 setup in my house. So I recommend a strong Wi-Fi 6 setup. As far as I'm aware, Virtual Desktop only works on Wi-Fi. Virtual Desktop is the only way to get Open Kneeboard working. So we're not connecting this to the computer using the Oculus software. We're not using Steam VR. We're not using anything. We're using Open Desktop. The reason we're using Open Desktop is because that's the software that allows you to chroma key the pass-through cameras on this headset. Open Kneeboard is displaying, in this case, a pink square, and then Virtual Desktop is telling the headset that that pink square needs to be passed through. So we got remove Steam VR, download Virtual Desktop, download Open Kneeboard, and then from there we'll jump in and I'll show you what we do next. So what we're going to do now is we're going to shut this down. I'm going to disconnect that projector, that projector, leave that one plugged in but just turn it off, so Windows will think there's another monitor there, and we will jump in the VR environment and I'll show you how we set this whole thing up. Welcome back. So here I am sitting in the jet. What you're seeing right now is the pass-through direct from the Quest 3 headset. So these are the external cameras that are going to do our mixed reality. You can see that I can see the cockpit. I can read APU Gen. I can barely read this stuff. It's passable. I can't wait for the next generation of headsets that have really awesome color pass-through, high resolution stuff. This is absolutely usable. Alright, so what we're going to do is grab our controller and we'll open up the Oculus menu. You'll see that I'm casting because I'm recording on OBS right now. But anyway, we just need to open up Virtual Desktop. So after you've installed Virtual Desktop on your headset, you'll get that icon there. You just click on that and it will open Virtual Desktop. It will automatically find the computer that it last connected to and connected it to it. That's because the headset and my gaming PC are on the same Wi-Fi network. You'll see now when Virtual Desktop starts, it's showing me my two desktops. So this is the DCS gaming PC. You can see that monitor right there is this one. It's just a background to make it look like gauges, a desktop background. But that's that monitor. And then the middle monitor is the main one that DCS will be put out to. That's the center projector that's not actually turned on, but Windows sees it's there. So I'll show you the menus on Virtual Desktop. So you just push this button right here and it'll open up that window again. You can see that I've got two computers here. One's the streaming PC that's recording right now and I'm connected to the gaming PC. Environments, you can change what you want. Mine's on pass-through all the time, but if you want it to be in space to lower the frames a bit, I suppose you can do that. Pass-through is good, so I can see the cockpit. Games, I didn't change anything. Input, I didn't change anything. Settings here, I didn't change anything. Streaming, here's the important bit. This is the stuff that's going to impact DCS. I've got VR graphics on high. I'm running a 3080 Ti. I had it on ultra and I just noticed some frame rate drops and a little bit of stuttering, so I went back to high. And then VR frame rate, this is the important part here. It defaults on 72. Your gut tells you to go to 120, but it blacks out the VR pass-through. This bit here is the important stuff for mixed reality. So you can't have VR pass-through in 120 frames. You can only have it in these three. So I have mine set on 90 frames per second. Higher bitrate will increase the image quality. I left that on 78. Sharpening, you can play around with it. I didn't change anything, but I've been messing around and I didn't really notice much of a difference. Alright, so this bit here is the important bit. This is the VR pass-through setting. This is why we're using Virtual Desktop and nothing else. So you click Environment, you click Configure, and then you can set your own color. So you can set whatever color you want to do. It's going to pass through. So whenever the program detects that color, it will pass through an image from the camera on the outside of the headset. We've gone this bright pink color because that bright pink color is nowhere really in the DCS environment. If you set it to blue, the entire sky will be pass-through. So you want it on this pink color. If by some chance you came across a vehicle or something that is that color, it will pass through that. So you won't even see it, it'll just be like a window into the real world. I didn't change any of these settings, I just left it like that. This colour here is important, red 255, green 0, blue 255. That is what colour we're going to make our mask around the cockpit in Open Kneeboard. What we'll do now is we'll just start Open Kneeboard. I'll move them and I'll use the mouse. Alright, so we open up Open Kneeboard. Open Kneeboard is software designed for kneeboards in your aircraft. So you can select your aircraft here, it connects to DCS, and then every time you jump in that aircraft, it will automatically show you the kneeboards for it. So you're saving your kneeboards into DCS itself, not into this program. So you go to Save Games, DCS, Kneeboard, and then I've only got one for the A10C2. But you can set up all different aircraft. So in theory, you could have multiple cockpits. As soon as you jump in the F-14, for example, it will open up a specific shape for the F-14. I've been meaning to do this for the Huey, so I'm going to set up another kneeboard, and it's just going to be a square here so I can see the throttle and stick, and then I'll be able to pass through in the Huey. But anyway, so A10C2, and then I've created this shape here. This is just a PNG image. You can see how it's a weird shape because it sort of goes in, up, and then that little bit at the top there is for the UFC. I'm still tweaking this. I've been tweaking it for ages. I noticed SimPit Academy just released another video recently where he's actually shown you can have two. So you can have one that shape up this way and one that way instead of one shape for the whole lot. But anyway, for now I'm just using this. So even now it says no pages because that's in DCS A10C2. As soon as I jump in the A10 in DCS, it will automatically show me that on the kneeboard. And then using this software when you're in VR, just here, you can go to virtual reality and you can position it around. So basically, when you're in VR, you alt-tab into this and you move the pitch and you're around it, and you can increase the size of that image, you can make it smaller, you can make it longer, you can tilt it up. So basically, you get that image and then you position it in the 3D world so it's showing you the whole cockpit. Alright, so what we'll do now is we'll fire up DCS. You can see that basically I've set this up so you click down that way. So you start Open Kneeboard and you can minimize it. Multiple shortcut is my DCS BIOS setup. So this is the program that runs DCS BIOS and all the parts in the cockpit. SimShaker is the software that runs my base transducer in the seat. I won't run that now. And then DCS World. Alright, so the newer version of DCS has this awesome thing where you can click between VR and the monitor setup. So you can just click that to change it to launch in VR, or click that to change it. So I used to, when I was switching between the projectors and VR, I had to change script files and have two separate icons for it and that sort of stuff. Nowadays, you just flick that. It's really cool. Importantly, you change some settings in here. I need to change that to 3840 by 1080, so it's the same as these two monitors. You'll see that I basically had everything on high and maxed out when it's on the projector setup. I just click custom. This is what I know works in VR for my Quest 3. You'll see that I've only got textures on medium and terrain textures on low because it's a 3080 Ti and it's struggling as it is. And then pixel density I've got set to 1.2 on the Quest. For ages I was trying to get the Quest to look as good as a Reverb G2, and I couldn't understand why I couldn't do it. I watched a couple of YouTube tutorials and that was the key. So I upped the pixel density on the Quest 3 and it almost looks as good as the Reverb G2. Apply that and then we just start DCS in VR. Hopefully it won't crash. It probably will. Alright, so when you jump into DCS, you'll be confronted with this huge thing that says no pages. This is because I've set it up in the right position. You'll probably just have a little page out in front of you, not a huge square like this. There's hotkeys in Open Kneeboard to turn it on and off, so I can just turn that off by pushing a button in my cockpit. And then as soon as we jump in the A10, let's just go instant action, A10C2, free flight. So as soon as we jump in the A10, like I said, because it goes to the image that's in the DCS A10 Kneeboard file within DCS, it will show me that pink image that I created, and it should already be in almost the right position. Alright, so here we are in the A10 cockpit. If we click fly, I'll quickly just...
This is a free flight mission. May use to become familiar with basic aircraft handling or just explore the area. There are no threats.
Thanks, Wags. Let me just level off here and put it in autopilot. Alright, so here we are in the VR cockpit. If I push that hotkey that I programmed in Open Kneeboard. Alright, so you'll see that I can see the real world as in my cockpit, and I can also see the outside world. The recenter button for DCS VR, you map that button as the same as the recenter button for Open Kneeboard. So if you push that, it will set itself up. You might have to adjust your head a little bit, about like that, and then I adjust the seat in the A10 to line these two bits up. I'm still trying to find how in the LUA you can set your default seat height. But anyway, you can see that I can see the cockpit with my controller, and I can also see the entire outside world. So mixed reality is working. You'll see here the glaring issue being that it's passing through on this monitor too, and I can't see any gauges or the MFDs. So what I'll do now is we'll get out of DCS, and I'll show you how I fix that after I bask in the glory that is this. Oh, it's glorious. Alright, so here we are back in the desktop environment. To make the MFD show up on the second monitor in VR, you need to change your monitor setup lure. So if it's usually in save games, DCS config, monitor setup, and there's your lure. Mine's called H8NC2 VR because this was generated by Helios. Helios is the software that I use to export my gauges. If you're not using a second monitor with gauges, or you've got hardware gauges and that sort of stuff, you might not need Helios. This video is not a Helios tutorial. It's very complicated. There's lots of info and forum posts about that on the internet. But basically, this is what Helios spat out. You can see that it was generated from Helios. This is the one that I use in VR. It's not the one that I use in the projector surface setup. I've created that one myself. It's a bit more complex because it's triple projectors and warping, that sort of stuff. So you need to add a couple of lines to this to make it export the MFDs in VR. And I've saved that just here. So this will be typed out in the description down below. You can just cut and paste this, and then you can put it in here. That's got to go up there, and it will look something like that. So VR allow MFD out of HMD equals true is what makes the MFDs export in the VR environment. And then this VR mirror is very important too. That stops it exporting onto the second monitor. You can see that it's now it's forcing it to only export the VR view on the main monitor and not the second monitor. That stops your gauges and your MFDs having the VR view behind them. What'll happen is there'll be transparent MFDs and you'll just get the whole world on your screen. So this bit here is very important. So now I've done that, I'll just save that. You'll see that when we jump in VR now, I'll have the MFDs on the screen and I'll have the gauges working. Now Helios Control Center is what runs my gauges. This software is putting the graphic of the gauges up on there. You'll see that A10C2 cockpit is the one I was using. I need to change my profile to the VR one. It's important that you don't push start on your Helios profile now. What happens is for some reason it won't let you click through the menus and that sort of stuff, DCS. So you got to click start when you're inside the aircraft. So when you've gone through all the menus in DCS World and you're sitting in the A10, then you click start and you won't need to worry about it again. We're about to jump into DCS. Now that I've made those edits to the LUA, it's very important that you click this right here, use DCS System Resolution. If that's not checked, the MFDs won't export. So let's fire up DCS World again, and we'll jump back in the jet. Now we should have MFDs. There, we're in. Alright, so you can see that we've just started and I can already tell it's working. You'll see that the screen's now black and we've got MFDs working. So if I jump in the aircraft and click fly.
This is a free flight mission. May use to become familiar with basic aircraft handling or just explore the area. There are no threats.
Thanks, Wags. Alright. You'll see that the MFDs all work. You'll see that it's exporting the radar warning receiver, the UHF repeater, and the clock is there, but it's really, really hard to make out. I'm still trying to work out how to increase the brightness on that. But you'll see there's no gauges. That's because Helios is not running. So all I need to do now is Alt-Tab into Helios, click Start, and you'll see the gauges will appear. So as soon as I click Start on Helios, bang, our gauges appear. Then all I need to do is recenter, so the top of the UFC lines up, adjust my seat, so it lines up pretty well. And that's it. You'll see now that we have functioning gauges. I don't know what's going on with Helios. Since the last couple of updates, I've noticed some pretty significant frame rate drops. You can see that it's stuttering a little bit. Look, I am asking a lot of my computer here to do this, but I've read on the forum some other people have found some solutions. I'm still working on it. But it's basically at a point now where mixed reality works. You can see that I can see the outside world in VR, and I can see the cockpit. So you'll see some clipping around the edges when I'm moving my head. I can't see that. It's only the recording software that's doing that, by the way, as well. It's not perfect. The next generation of headsets that have, you know, awesome color pass-through, high resolution, there is some warping in it every now and then, but is it playable? Absolutely. Is it cool? Absolutely. Look, the MFDs work really well. I can pick out targets, not as clearly as I could just using the projector setup with the awesome MFDs, but man, that's cool. Sometimes I just get distracted by the beauty of DCS. See, you can't do stuff like this in the projector surface. Look, those who've experienced VR know how good it is with depth perception and the sense of actually being there, but coupled with this, it's pretty amazing. Alright, so that sort of brings us to the end of this video. Thanks very much for watching. If you have any comments, questions, queries, throw them in the comments below, and I'm sure either I or somebody else will answer them for you. If you're just catching this video as it's gone live now, jump on over to Twitch. The link's in the description below, and I'll be streaming live, so you can come over there and ask me some questions if you'd like to. So feel free to come and have a look, and you'll see it working in real time. Thanks heaps for watching, and I'll see you legends on the next one. I've been filming for about an hour and the first battery's going flat. Alright, APU Gen, CDU Eggy, comms, on, test, on and on. Left engine start. Radar warning receiver works now, which is brilliant. Let's turn on that targeting pod. Let's check our dismiss is all working. Alright, this is the bit that I wanted to say. This is pretty ridiculous, this, but how funny is that? Classic. Oh, this is cool. That's fucking hilarious. Let's run gun arm, master arm. Countermeasures to semi. Stern lights all off. What the fuck was that?
Altitude, apple up.
Something shot at me. Can't see shit because I'm in the sun. What's that? What is that? That's concerning. That is a MiG, isn't it? It might be a Tomcat, it might be a MiG-23. Oh shit, might have choked here. We got it, we got it, we got it. Oh, trees. Oh, I can't believe that just happened. I was just killed by my arch nemesis being the ground.